Okay guys, Scripture here with another video, and Leslye Headland continues the apology tour to try and convince everybody that this show is good, and it is not. It is just replete with problems, and we all know this. Feel free to check out any of my reviews of each of the episodes. There's so many problems, it's almost... Well, it's not almost. It's comically, incredibly, crazily funny. Just the amount of issues that somehow made it through. So, let's see here. This is the Leslye Headland is just getting started. You'd think Leslye Headland would be free to spill some more secrets about the Star Wars series, but the writer and director is still playing a few cards close to the chest. Whatever, just thinking about the future of the show. I'm not online, so my wife told me about it. Headland tells inverse of the hashtag renew the Acolyte movement. I don't think that's really happening much. As somebody who's on Twitter, I've seen one or two posts, maybe? Who knows? Maybe I'm crazy. Episode 8 features a long-awaited cameo from Master Yoda himself. Why is it a cameo? Like, are we expanding the term cameo now to include a single 5-second shot of the back of someone's head now? That's a cameo now? Remember in cameos used to be like, the guy would have a few lines, maybe be part of the story in a sort of sidebar way, but still interesting. Now it's just, oh, the back of his head, he's in a cameo. Anyway, he's just there to be told what actually happened so he can cover it up. That's what they're going to do. I've told you guys this on Twitter. That's what they're going to do. There's no reason for her to tell him anything. Everybody knows the story she already gave, so she's going to tell him the truth, and he's going to cover it up, and they're going to ruin Yoda, because that's what people like Leslye do. They take beloved characters and stories, and they think they're smarter and better than everybody else, including George, and they're going to change them to what they want, because they're the smartest people in the world. It's a bittersweet moment when we see the back of Yoda's head, as it clearly broadcasts just how messy things are about to get for the Jedi, with a string of Jedi deaths to answer for and a Senate investigation looming. By the way, how did they even know everything, by the way? How did the Senate know everything? Like, who's telling everybody everything that went on? This is just... No, this show is so stupid. Something about some Sith, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to read... Yeah, anyways. Let's see what Leslye Headland has to say. Starting from the very end of the episode and working our way back, I hear you had to fight hard to get Yoda in the stinger. Okay, yes, I mean, I wouldn't say fight hard. She didn't have to fight hard. I wouldn't say fight hard in a totally super adversary way. It's more like, that's a big character, so it was not fighting in an aggressive way, but definitely a spirited conversation. Now, maybe that's centered around the fact that her plan is to ruin Yoda. And maybe Dave has some form of a soul, Dave Filoni, and maybe Hidalgo also has, a semblance of a soul, and they were like, maybe we shouldn't do this, and then Kathleen Kennedy, who told Leslye Headland to write whatever story she wanted and make it about her, stepped in and said, no, we're going to let her do that. Honestly, I think that's probably what it is. Was it about just the integrity of the brand? Yeah, there was the logistics of it all for sure, but then there were some, I'd say, almost spiritual conversations about using such an iconic character. I felt strongly about it because I felt that, to me, Vernestra was in a situation that was so heightened and really needed to be taken care of internally. She was already feeling this pressure of, if you don't have a suspect, then we have a real problem. Raincourt suggests the internal review of the Jedi, obviously at this small council, but Dark Chancellor Drellick doesn't confirm or deny that request. It felt like she had to report to her superior and let him know what's up and probably tell him what happened between her and her Padawan. Okay, two things here. She really needed to be taken care of internally. Okay. Sorry, the situation had to be taken care of internally. So, in other words, she's going to tell Yoda what actually happened and they're going to deal with it internally. That's my first prediction. I think that's exactly what's going to happen when they do a season 2, which they will do despite the fact this is a failure of a show. And secondly, Raincourt in the show is telling her that he believes, the Jedi, what's to stop a single Jedi from not controlling his emotions and doing something bad. And that's why he wants an investigation into the Jedi and blah, 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 blah. Then she proceeds after that conversation, Vernestra proceeds to lie and say that Sol was a rogue Jedi running around killing everybody. Like, what? So you're mad that this guy wants to internally review the Jedi because he's worried about a rogue Jedi, and your first instinct is to lie about Sol and say that he killed all the Jedi and he went rogue. Like, what in the heck are you talking about? And they're going to justify because Kamir is going to be her former Padawan, and then she'll say, "Oh, well, she couldn't say the truth because it's Kamir, her former Padawan, Kamir." Why? Why not? Why can't you? Why can't you say that people do bad things? No, we're gonna bury Sol, and now I'm just essentially telling Rayancourt exactly what he wanted to hear, which was that Jedi can't be trusted and they go rogue. Like, it's so stupid. That was a fun bit of foreshadowing for me, knowing what we know about Yoda and about Dooku. It's so funny that Vernestra could be going for him for advice, and he's like, never experienced this, have I? But you will. Okay, I was just interested in the Phantom Menace when he immediately is like, there's always a master and apprentice. It's not like he was alive during the New Sith War, so I guess there's a chance that it was a piece of information that was passed down through the audience. Through the audience. I was going to say, passed down through the generations. Well, yeah. What? Did you watch the prequel? She talks all this big game about the prequels. There's Jedi archives. The Jedi have a whole slew of information about what went on in the past. Like, what are you talking about? Of course they know. What? But because I had the opportunity to work in Star Wars, I just think a more interesting version of this is that he has some sort of understanding of what's going on. And it's not like it's the first time Yoda has hidden something. See, I told you guys, he's going to hide it. See, I tweet that last week. Yoda's going to hide this reality about this Sith Lord, and then continue to keep it hidden in the Phantom Menace. Oh, how can you know that? Oh, yeah, well, give me some proof, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you guys, it's not hard to figure out. You just have to know how people like Leslye Headland and these writers think. I grew up around a lot of people like a lot of these writers for Star Wars. I've experienced a lot of that type of mentality. And so it's very easy. It's very easy to predict. She could give a single solitary crap about Yoda, about George, about anything. She does not care. It's all about her and her story and what she wants to tell. And if she's got to sacrifice Yoda's character on the altar of Leslye Headland's vision, she's going to go ahead and she's going to do that. And that's what she's doing. So there you go. She's literally saying it's not the first time Yoda has hidden something from the Senate and the Republic. So he's gonna hide this, guys. She's ruining Yoda. It's plain as day. There's no. She's telling you. She's so easy to read, and she's not even remotely cryptic when she does these interviews. In the Clone Wars Season 6, it's revealed that he covered up the creation of the clone army and asked everybody to not say who was behind it. That's not the same as covering up a bunch of Jedi being murdered by a Sith. It's covering it up at the time, but then saying it's an impossibility that there's Sith 100 years later, when you know for a fact there probably isn't the same thing to me. But again, it's all about ruining Yoda and justifying ruining Yoda. And so she cherry picks one little thing from the Clone Wars Season 6, you know, that justifies in her mind, like, literally lying through his teeth about Sith Lords, their main enemy of the Jedi. So, I mean, like, again, people on Twitter, how could you now? It's like, dude, it's so obvious. So there you go. They're going to ruin Yoda. There's Season 2. Yoda is ruined, officially. Get excited for the ruining of Yoda. Now that all the episodes are out there, I feel like we can talk about the things that were in the Legends that you wanted to bring in, but maybe couldn't. Did you have any other ideas that you wanted to include in the season, but they just didn't fit? One thing that I did want to explore, but it was too much of a deep hole, was the time period when Vernestra became a Wayseeker. I just thought that was an interesting piece of information to bridge where she was and where she is now, and her experience with the Nihil. I was hoping to get a little a bit more backstory for her, but there were already so many characters that I wanted to dive into, and those first 4 episodes are very much about establishing the era. You had so much filler, Leslye. You could have easily, you should have dipped into her. I just think you're making that up. You had the amount of filler in this show. This is a hour-long show, ultimately, that you stretched into like 4 hours with filler and drawn-out nonsense. And episode 7 or whatever it was, the second flashback episode, where we literally over half the episode was the same exact scenes shot from a different angle when Soul's like watching them. The same scenes. You're telling me you didn't have time? You should have, because she had a huge role in the end. I think she's just making that up. She just didn't know what to do. I don't even know what a Wayseeker is, guys. Let me know in the comment section. I don't even know the Nihil. They were the bad guys, I guess, or something in the High Republic. Does anyone care about the High Republic? Does anybody out there know anything about it? Because I don't. The only thing I know about it is what people have pointed out and made fun of. The rock that, like, is the navigator on the ship. He's literally a flippin' rock. Like, and I just remember all the initial artwork that came out showing the characters sucked. It was just like really, really bad. Plagueis was always in the show, though. Plagueis was the plan in terms of revealing him and establishing him in live action. My dream was always to introduce him with his hands first, because moons, their forefingers and their middle finger are longer than the rest of their fingers. What is so special about that? So always my dream was to show that first and give a sort of little bump for those that knew. What? Their middle finger are longer. Yes, just like us, Leslye. Our middle fingers are longer than the rest of our fingers. And our forefingers are pretty darn close, if not longer. They're usually number 2, at most number 3 in length. Or at least I should say, number 3 in length. So like, sort of like human hands, Leslye, like pretty much the same. Way to go. What a detail. Like, this is the type of stuff that these guys worry about. Like, it's mind-boggling. I can't even believe it. Like, this is such insanity that this show got made and that this person was given this show. And she needs to stop. Stop doing interviews, Leslye. I know you're trying to save face, I guess, because it's done so badly in the ratings. Like, so badly. If you look it up, it's really bad. Now you're like going around doing interviews every day. This is not helping. Just go away. Just go away. You're making it worse. Fingers. I wanted to lead with his hands first because his hands are very much like human hands, almost identical, and that's interesting. You've spoken about balancing Plagueis' cameo. Again, why do we keep calling them cameos when it's literally it's a single shot? Like, come on. We used to complain about like the over cameos, right, in the Star Wars shows and stuff like that. And it was too much. And now it's like they don't even talk. They don't have any lines. They're not even part of the story at all. It's just a shot of the back of their head or them in the shadows and you see their eyes. Oh, and their hand, their special hand. And that's cameos now. Like, it's like lazy beyond lazy. You've spoken about balancing Plagueis' cameo with that moment of Osha's triumph in the end. Could you tease how he could fit into the story when it continues? With that moment of Osha's triumph? Osha's triumph. That's what we're calling her killing Soul under false pretenses without ever really knowing the context of what happened from either Soul or May. We're calling her killing him a triumph? And turning into a Sith as a triumph? Are these interviewers just as stupid as the showrunner here? Like, with how they see things? It's a good and evil story. Sorry, George said that. You guys are weirdos. He's definitely a signifier of things to come if we end up moving forward. Osha and the Stranger are aligned. Well, thanks, Leslye. They were holding hands. I guess they're aligned. Like, literally the last shot of the show is the two of them holding the same lightsaber. It's the last shot of Fight Club. What are you talking about? And she keeps saying this. Like, she compared her fighting in it to the Phantom Menace, Duel of the Fates. It's not even close. It's not even close to as good as that. And then, what was she comparing? She was comparing to another, like, epic. Oh, The Matrix. Yeah, she's saying that it's better than the Matrix fights. Leslye! And now you're comparing it to Fight Club? So, and you've got Duel of the Fates. It's better than that, fight-wise. Matrix better than that. And now it's like Fight Club, which is like a total psychological, crazy movie that you have to watch a second time after you realize what's really going on. Like a phenomenally written, really well done movie, in my opinion. And you're comparing it to that now? Like, she throws these comparisons out. And, like, I'm sorry, but Leslye, it's not even close. Like, it's not even in the same hemisphere as those movies. Like, you're not even... And this is where it's like, I always say, like, you gotta have a level of arrogance to be making statements like that. Like, just shut up and let the fans decide. Right? When it came out, when she was like, oh, we did a better fight than Duel of the Fates, I was like, why would you come out and say that before the show's even out? Why don't you let the fans talk about it and they will decide? You're saying that because deep down you know it's not as good, but you're trying to convince people it is. Because if it is, you don't have to say anything. You just sit back and watch the money roll in, and you watch the reviews roll in, and you watch people say, wow, that was better than the Phantom. Holy crap, look at that fight scene, oh my gosh. But I broke down the fight scene. The big, better than Phantom Menace fight scene. It's awful. Absolutely awful. The fight scenes with Kamir and Soul are okay. They have some problems. They're not too bad, but the big one where he's fighting all the Jedi is laughably bad. Like, you got the one guy just kind of leaves and then comes back. Soul just disappears. He just leaves, abandons them for no reason. It's never explained. It's a horrible fight scene. But either way, none of them are even close to Duel of the Fates. She's just, the arrogance is so beyond crazy. But I can't blame her for being arrogant when Kathleen Kennedy told her she could do whatever she wanted. She gave her carte blanche and told her how wonderful she was and told her she was the greatest thing since sliced bread. So she said, okay, well then I am. And I'm going to tell everybody how great I am. Ultimately, all of this falls on Kennedy and Iger. Ultimately. These are two people... Okay, we're talking about Osha and Kamir here. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked with the absolutely ridiculous Fight Club reference. Kamir and Osha. These are two people that are looking out under the horizon and believing that their power is intense and strong and shared and passionate. I'm just looking back to like how they came together and how flippant and fast and stupid it was. And she looked at his crotch like 3 times. And it's so passionate. No, it isn't. There's nothing but blank faces and planks of wood. There's nothing passionate about it. It happened way too fast. If she wanted it to be about them two coming together, like, she didn't pick a story. Like, if that was the main story, you did a horrible job. I don't know what the main story was. Part of me thinks it was Soul. I don't know. She should have picked a line and went with that, and she didn't. She was all over the place. So no, you don't get any passion at any point for anything in this show. And then she just joins the Sith. Like, what? After he kills her friends and everything, just because she saw him naked and he said 3 things in sort of a semi sultry voice. It's just the Sith line is peace is a lie, there is only passion. And the last line is the Force will set me free, which is why the stranger says what he says in episode 6. Yeah, he just wants to be free to murder people, dude. Like, he's a friggin' villain. Like, I'm sorry, Leslye, they're villains. So they've really sort of come together and they click in this beautiful way, and in this way that I would love to keep going. They don't click, there's no chemistry. No. He's a good actor. She is a plank of wood in this, and I'm sorry. No. There's nothing there. Like, I'm sorry. But the tease is, because there's Plagueis, and because you know that Palpatine is eventually Plagueis' apprentice, we know that these two people are not going to fall into that set lineage. This is a triumph for Osha. It's a triumph for both of them. It's a triumph to become a Sith. Look at this insanity she's spewing from her face. It's a triumph to become a Sith and murder people. Way to go. Leslye Headland has no absolutely no business doing Star Wars. She doesn't know what Star Wars is. How she could have possibly interpreted the Sith as misunderstood, counterculture. She said that in another interview. They're counterculture. Counterculture. The Sith. Running around murdering people. And trying to take over the galaxy. They're counterculture. All those slaves, like Palpatine having like massive like planets of slaves to like query his minerals and resources to build his ships. Just, yeah, like that's awesome. Like that's just counterculture, man. Like how she could have possibly ever interpreted it that way, like watching George's movies, if she ever really actually watched them, is mind-boggling to me. No, I think it's just, this is her worldview. It's moral relativism, and it's it's okay to kill people that you don't like if they don't see things your way, and that's a very what type of political view, and that's how she thinks. And so she wanted to insert that into a IP that the founder of has said repeatedly is about timeless issues and good and bad and things that have been in writing for all time. None of it was gray. None of it was unsure. You were well aware who the good guys and the bad guys were, and there was a story to tell within that context. Now, having said that, Kathleen Kennedy is also to blame for this because she, number one, greenlit this, because I also think she has the same worldview. But she also greenlit the sequels, where we have Kylo Ren, who's bad but isn't bad, kind of in a weird way. Like he's so pouty and whiny and weak, but he's also a bad guy. Like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And then Rey falls in love with him, despite the fact that he's a mental case and he's murdering tons of people and stuff. Same here, Osha. This guy murders everybody right in front of her, and she wanted to be a Jedi. And now she's like, no, it's cool, man. I like this guy. I saw his pee-pee, and he's awesome. Even though he killed all those people right in front of me, I love him. He's great. I'm gonna hold his hand and become a Sith. Like, it's just this whole moral relativist garbage, and nobody's falling for it because nobody's watching it. Nobody's letting their kids watch this show. Especially after that one scene, nobody's letting their kids watch this. So they're not getting indoctrinated, Leslye. You failed. Everything you wanted to do to indoctrinate your audience, all this nonsense, change what Star Wars is, none of it's going to work. It didn't work. You failed. But they'll still do a season 2, and we will still review it, and we will still laugh at it, because it's ridiculous. That's what they think. They think they're changing the world. Who was it in an interview that said that? Oh, shoot. I did a video about it a while ago. Somebody from Disney. And they think that they're like, it's their job to like change the way people view the world. Okay, so the triumph of becoming a Sith, but the added complication that master and apprentice, or in this case apprentice and acolyte, there's always an imbalance. One to hold the power and one to crave it, and seeing these two characters completely aligned with each other in this hugely satisfying way, the tease is, how will they survive the structure of how the Sith work? Whatever. Is there a chance that they could decide not to be Sith? I mean, that's probably a spoiler, but yeah, I can't talk to you about that. So they're gonna be non-Sith. They're gonna do another Kylo. We're so creative. We wrote this new kind of villain that's not a Sith, even though they do everything Sith do. They kill Jedi. They seek power. They have red lightsabers, but they're not Sith. Because we just didn't say they were. Because we're creative. Look at this new villain we made that's exactly the same as Sith, but isn't. Look at how creative we are. That's the Disney way now. That's the Disney way. Oh, man. When I spoke to Hanel, she said, you toyed with the idea of potentially going for a kiss. Oh, I don't even care. I loved finally seeing David Harewood in the finale. He has such a fun role. Could you talk about the decision to include him as season 2 setup? You had to drop someone in that immediately had high status. That scene would not work if you had someone that couldn't go toe-to-toe with Vernestra. It was very familiar. I was very familiar with his work, and he was a name that was brought up very early on. He's so skilled, and yeah, he's a good actor. It's a stupid role. He's all, we need to do an investigation of the Jedi, despite living under their under their protection for 1,000 years of peace. Oh, I don't like them. I don't like that they have power and they What the heck? Dude, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. As if the Senate would be like, yeah, those Jedi, they're bad, when they're literally living in peace under their protection for that length of time. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The only way that the Senate would go against the Jedi is because Palpatine manipulated the living crap out of them. Not because, Rey in court just out of nowhere thinks that they're bad, even though, again, he's living under their protection for literally 1,000 years. It's like his family lineage has survived because they've protected them. Like, it's just so stupid. This whole show never should have happened. It's a dumb show. Do you know if season 2 is happening? I do not. Is there anything that you're dying to explore if you get a season 2? I'm really excited about the prospect of May-Vernestra relationship. I really love the idea that, it's going to be great. It's really great that they turned her into a vegetable. They gave her a lobotomy, and now now Vernestra can manipulate this girl however she wants. This has got some weird vibes in it, man. I'm just saying. Weird vibes. This is Leslye Headland's wife playing Vernestra. Isn't it great that they lobotomized May and now we can turn her into whatever we want? We can mold and shape this young woman into what we want. Yeah. Super creepy, dude. It's super weird. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. And Vernestra's a Jedi, and really they should be taking care of May and trying to get her to remember stuff. They should not be training her or doing anything. Vernestra now has her hands on a Force-sensitive, powerful woman that is at this point docile enough that Vernestra would be able to educate and form an allegiance with. So in other words, just basically manipulate and control her. I don't know, man. This is Creepville. Obviously, Osha and the Stranger is probably the juiciest relationship that I would love to dive into. There's so much about them that I would love to explore more, and not just the hand-holding. But the power dynamic between the two of them, I think, is really interesting. No, you don't know how to write that, Leslye. So what she did in the last episode, Osha's like, I know where they are on the planet, whatever the other planet, Brendock or whatever. And Kamir's like, okay. And then they threw Osha in the driver's seat of his ship. He's in the back, and she turns off all his stuff so he can't do anything or communicate. In a show of strength and the power struggle. It made no sense. It's his ship. He should be driving it. She just tells him where to go. If she knows where to go. He's the Sith Lord. He could kill her in a second. Like, the whole thing is retarded. She doesn't know how to do it. There was no depth to it. It's just this cheesy, corny, false power dynamic that doesn't even work. And whether or not they can make that work, or it's something that causes a lot of conflict, that'd be really cool. I would love to see Osha's development as a warrior. Osha fights in the last scene, but in the rest of the season she doesn't. So I'd love to see her with a lightsaber. I'd love to explore that. I already talked about Plagueis. Then there's a bunch of High Republic Legend stuff that I'd be interested in folding into the show. I've already talked to Pablo Hidalgo about some characters from the High Republic. We're still working that out. How do you feel about the hashtag Renew the Acolyte? I'm not online. My wife told me it's great, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Okay, so there you go. Yoda's going to get wrecked. As I predicted, it's these people. It's so easy, you guys. It's so easy. You're going to get a shallow, garbage season 2. You're going to get a Jedi chick who covered up everything. Covered it up for no reason, by the way. It made no sense to cover it up. She might as well just said what happened. Covered up for no reason. And now she's going to take this lobotomized poor girl and start manipulating her into thinking the way she thinks. So that's nice. Nice thing to do. And then she's going to tell Yoda what actually happened. And Yoda's also going to cover it up. And they're going to ruin Yoda. That's season 2 in a nutshell. I mean, that's what we know. That's what we know so far. She's so, like, obvious. She doesn't know how to, like, say stuff without saying stuff. So that's what's going to happen, guys. It's going to suck. It's going to be ridiculous. And they're going to do it, even though it's going to lose money. And they just don't care because they think, we're shaping the minds of the public. We're changing the world. Which I've said in previous videos about Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, what a dumb thing to think. Like, you buy Lucasfilm, you have basically the license to print money, and you think, and your first thing you want to do is use Lucasfilm to try and train the public to view the world as you do. Why would you take on that task? Why would you do that? If you want to change how people think, go become a nun or something, like Kathy, like, and Leslye and all these people. Like, you're not going to change the way people think. You might change a few dummies, right? A few of these people that, like, these obese, overweight adults that just worship Disney. Yeah, you'll change what they think, but they don't have any impact on anybody else. There's not people like lining up to hear the advice from the big fat chick that goes to Disney World 3 times a week. Like, no one's lining up to listen to what she has to say. So, way to go taking on this stupid task. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be terrible. It's amazing that I can know and you guys can know how bad it's going to be before they've even started on it. But anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Always help the channel. Feel free to check out anything else on my channel, including all of my Acolyte reviews, and have yourselves a really good day.